Welcome to Montenegro and to the first Summit of Speakers and Presidents of Parliament of PAM members and partners. It is our great pleasure to host you, and we hope your stay will be both productive and enjoyable. This meeting represents an important opportunity to strengthen cooperation, exchange experiences, and further enhance parliamentary dialogue. Should you need any assistance during your stay, please do not hesitate to reach out. We wish you a successful meeting and a pleasant time in Montenegro.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished delegates, dear friends, it is for me honor and pleasure to welcome you here in Budva for the 20th anniversary of the establishment of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Mediterranean, and said so, now it is my honor to give the floor to His Excellency, Honorable Andrija Mandić, the President of the Parliament of Montenegro, who is generously hosting us here in Budva. Excellency.
Esteemed President of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Mediterranean, Mr. Centenbeno. Esteemed Vice President of PAM, Mr. Đurović. Esteemed Secretary General of PAM, Mr. Piazzi. Esteemed Presidents and Speakers and Vice Presidents of Parliaments, special representatives of parliaments of member countries and PAM partners, Minister Radunović, Your Excellencies, dear colleagues, dear friends. It gives me great honor and pleasure to welcome you personally and on behalf of the Parliament of Montenegro. I wish to extend warm welcome to the first summit of speakers and presidents of parliament of PAM members and partners, held simultaneously with the 5th meeting of Secretaries General in the framework of the 20th plenary session of this highly relevant organization. Your visit to Montenegro is a great honor for us. It is also a strong confirmation that parliamentary diplomacy is irreplaceable or indispensable now when dialogue, trust, and accountability are needed more than ever. Many of you come from the countries faced with serious political, security, and social challenges. This makes us appreciate even more you coming here to discuss, seek solutions, and confirm that parliaments must be the place where people connect rather than place where people get divided. Montenegro is a small country, however, it is deeply aware of the importance of peace. Our history has taught us that stability should not be taken for granted. Instead, it should be safeguarded through wisdom, patience, mutual respect, and willingness to reach agreement. As the first next EU member state, Montenegro has always stood for the values of peace, stability, democracy, and cooperation, while making sure that everything it does is aimed at preserving those values in the country and in our region. This is the message I wish to convey at every address here before the PAM representatives, presidents of parliaments of small European countries, in our bilateral meetings, as well as at the most relevant European and global addresses. There is no alternative to peace. Today, when peace is disturbed in the east of Europe and in the Middle East, each appeal for peace and each humanitarian initiative and each diplomatic effort have a special weight and moral value. The Parliamentary Assembly of the Mediterranean has for 2 decades been demonstrating that the area of the Mediterranean is not just about geography. It's about our shared destiny of peoples, cultures, religions, and civilizations. This is the place where East meets West, North meets South, tradition meets contemporary challenges, which is why we are required not to see this area as the line that separates us. Instead, we should see it as a bridge of cooperation, mutual understanding, and joint progress. I believe that the summit in Budva will contribute to efforts aimed at strengthening political dialogue, restoring trust in multilateral institutions, and confirming the central role of parliaments in protecting democratic processes. Montenegrin Parliament remains a committed member of PAM, and we genuinely believe that if we work together, we'll be better placed to effectively address issues of security, economic development, environmental protection, migration, social stability, and preservation of human dignity. Allow me to once again thank all those who have shown respect for Montenegro, our parliament, and this important event by joining us here. I wish you a successful event, an open and constructive dialogue, and I wish you a pleasant stay in Budva. May you all feel at home in our Montenegro. May you bring nothing but great memories, new friendships from this country. Also, may you have the conviction that peace, when we build it together, is always possible. It's a bit, well, I find it a bit difficult that the weather is not better today. I'm sorry about that. If the weather was nicer, you would have the chance to see just how beautiful this country is. We are very proud of this country and its beauties, despite it being a small country. This is just how we feel about our country, of course, without diminishing the beauties of your own countries. Thank you.
President Mandic, I have the pleasure to offer to you this medal, made especially on the occasion of the summit, thanking you for the great hospitality.
Hvala vam, gospodine generalni sekretare. Hvala vam na ovom visokom priznanju.
Thank you for this token of memory and recognition for organizing this summit that will remind me that I was privileged to be with you and to organize this summit.
We have the pleasure, on behalf of the Assembly, to ask Honorable Durovic, the PAM Vice President and Head of Delegation of Montenegro to PAM, to address the summit.
Dear Speaker of the Parliament of Montenegro, Mr. Mandic, the President of PAM, Mr. Centemero, distinguished Secretary General PAM, Mr. Piazzi, distinguished speakers of parliaments and international organization representatives, Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, Mr. Radunovic, dear colleagues. Today, after 2 decades, we are still witnessing that this exceptional platform, Parliamentary Assembly of the Mediterranean, is continuing its existence by contributing not only to the exchange of knowledge, experiences, and best practices, but also to the strengthening of trust and cooperation between countries of the Mediterranean, Europe, and the world. The 20th anniversary confirms the fact that we have much more in common than differences that separate us. Economic development, environmental protection, sustainable social policies, and security are all the pillars that PAM rests upon and that we should build upon in future. In times of global challenges, we need to speak with one voice and recognize the responsibility we have towards our citizens as parliamentarians. Today's gathering in Budva is precisely an expression of this responsibility and vision, at the center of which is a stable, prosperous, and connected Mediterranean as our objective. This is also an opportunity for Montenegro as the country that is first in pecking order to becoming a member of the EU, to present its progress in reforms, democratization, and European values. Also to show you the beauty of our nature, the richness of cultural heritage and tourist potentials with which Montenegro contributes to the diversity of Mediterranean. I believe that the 20th plenary session of PAM in Montenegro will be an event of special importance, not only for our country, but also for all PAM members. Together, we can and must improve dialogue, cooperation, and mutual understanding, because this is the only way towards a sustainable future of our region. On this occasion, today here, we confirm our firm commitment to common goals, economic prosperity, unity, and progress of the Mediterranean area. In this exceptional geographical area where East and West meet, where civilizations, cultures, and histories intertwine, we as representatives of peoples have a duty to be the bridges of cooperation and bearers of peace. I would like to thank you once again for the extremely good turnout, which in the best way confirms the importance and strength of this joint initiative. To that end, with renewed gratitude, I wish you successful and productive work in constructive dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Secretary General and dear President. We are a new member. We joined this initiative 5 years ago, and today we have the chance to host this event and to receive tokens of your appreciation together with the President. Thank you.
We have now the pleasure to listen to His Excellency Honorable Giulio Centemero, the President of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Mediterranean.
Good morning, everybody. It's a real pleasure to be here, and it is also a privilege to welcome you at the first summit of speakers and presidents of Parliament of PAM members and partners. I would like to express my deepest appreciation and gratitude to the President of the Parliament of Montenegro, His Excellency Honorable Andrija Mandic, and to our Deputy President, Honorable Dejan Durovic, very energetic, very active. He started advocating to have a plenary session in Montenegro 2 years ago, I think. And I thank them for the warm hospitality and exceptional support provided here in Budva. I also wish to extend my sincere gratitude to all the speakers and deputy speakers of Parliament who are present today. Your contributions and advice will prove invaluable to reinforce and to strengthen the vital role of PAM and especially parliamentary diplomacy in safeguarding our democratic institutions and societies. In addition, I'd like to thank the UN Secretary General, Antonio Gutierrez, whose words will provide essential context for our work, and Ms. Natalia German, Assistant Secretary General and Executive Director of the UN Counterterrorism Committee, Executive Directorate of the UN Security Council, for joining us in person and delivering a keynote address, which will be heard later on. Before starting, I wish to put an emphasis on the 20th anniversary of PAM. This is a very important celebration, a landmark in PAM's life, and I would like to thank each and every one of you, because we would not be here without your steadfast and unwavering support. Thank you then to those who have followed PAM since its inception, and I see many of them here in this room, to those who joined later and were positively impressed and inspired by the Assembly's work, and to those who are joining us today because they have seen how we represent a unique platform for exchange and dialogue. Thank you, of course, to the Secretary General, Sergio Piazzi, whose efforts to nurture and grow the organization have been commendable. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, in an era of increasingly marked by authoritarian pressures and confidence crises challenging the resilience of democratic systems, in a context of military confrontation and economic turf and uncertainty, parliaments serve as more than just legislative chambers. They are fundamental strongholds of civil liberties and peace. That is why today's summit is asked on the timely topic of parliamentary diplomacy as a resilient stronghold of democratic institutions. Democracy is witnessing a dangerous transformation of political discourse into existential warfare. When an opponent is no longer a fellow citizen but an enemy, the path to violence becomes dramatically shorter. Moreover, authoritarian actors deliberately exploit this polarization, weaponizing the use of disinformation and emerging technologies to erode the democratic system from within. In this regard, the PAM communication campaign against disinformation, carried out with the cooperation of many strategic institutions, addresses the growing challenges. Moreover, in this field, we also have our Center for Global Studies providing research concerning, for example, the malicious use of AI and other technologies on this sector. On the other hand, parliamentary diplomacy offers the necessary antidote, allowing for the monitoring and reinforcement of institutional integrity through mutual solidarity, in order to provide long-term strategic vision. Another vital safeguard for the democratic process is election monitoring, which serves as a tangible mechanism to ensure that the fundamental right to vote remains sacred. PAM's election observation mission symbolizes our unwavering dedication to this cause. In this regard, PAM, recognizing that the active participation of women and youth, and I see in front of me Mariam Binteneya, which is, she's chairing the Women's Forum. The participation of women and youth is the most effective countermeasure to authoritarianism and the surest path to lasting regional stability. Especially now, in my opinion, our effort should be to show the youth that we are not aliens. We are citizens like the young people, and we have to stay in touch with them in order also, especially in Europe, send them back to the ballots to vote, because there is less and less participation from the youth. Through the PAM Women's Parliamentary Forum and the PAM Youth Initiative, the Assembly fosters the deep-rooted engagement necessary to ensure that decision-making processes are truly representative of our society. Ultimately, in the recent years, PAM's outreach has grown significantly, welcoming Bahrain, the UAE, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia. Today, we mark another significant milestone, officially welcoming as observer member states Armenia and Azerbaijan. This enlargement is a clear sign of the trust and confidence PAM enjoys, showing that our role in fostering cooperation now reaches well beyond our traditional borders. It is quite but significant recognition for our ability to bridge divides through steady parliamentary engagement. In this cooperative spirit, PAM recently met with US congressmen and governmental officials in Washington, D.C., as well as the Secretary General of the Organization of American States, to foster the cooperation between Mediterranean and Euro-Atlantic partners. The next step will be the Pacific Ocean, I would say. In a region ripe by unresolved historical grievances, the ability of parliamentarians to sit at the same table with a mindset set toward consensus is invaluable. Let us use this summit to further strengthen our collective resolve in supporting all the Assembly's members, observers and partner states, parliamentary capacities and efforts to foster institutional exchange in their own countries and at the regional level. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.
I wish to thank President Centemero for his address, and now we have a message from New York from His Excellency Antonio Gutierrez, the Secretary General of the United Nations.
Excellencies, dear parliamentarians, it is a privilege to address this first summit of speakers and presidents of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Mediterranean. For 2 decades, this assembly has represented multilateralism in action. You have gathered countries from across a region where dialogue is indispensable and peace is urgently needed. The Mediterranean faces a convergence of crises, conflicts and climate devastation, rising humanitarian needs, and deepening economic and social disparities. As a former parliamentarian from the region, I know the unique role you play, giving voice to your people on the global stage and translating international commitments into national action. I thank you for pushing for peace, advancing human rights, demanding bold climate action, championing financial justice for developing countries, promoting the Sustainable Development Goals, and implementing the Pact for the Future. The United Nations is proud to stand with parliamentarians at this moment of peril and promise for the Mediterranean region and the world. I wish you a productive summit.
A warm thank to Secretary General Gutierrez, and I hope that our dear friend Natalia German will convey our thanks to him personally. And now it's my honor and pleasure to invite UN Assistant Secretary General Natalia German to address our summit. She's a dear friend and partner of PAM. She is the head of the Executive Directorate of the United Nations Security Council Counterterrorism Directorate. Natalia, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, distinguished speakers, parliamentarians, dear colleagues. It is a great honor to address the 20th plenary session and first summit of speakers and presidents of parliament of the members of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Mediterranean. And I would like to start by thanking the President of the Parliament of Montenegro, the Honorable Mandic, the PAM President, the Honorable Centemero, the PAM Vice President, the Honorable Đurović, and the PAM Secretary General, Ambassador Piazzi, for inviting me. I also wish to extend my warmest congratulations on holding this important meeting in the beautiful city of Budva, and thank the Montenegrin authorities for the warm welcome extended to all of us. On this occasion, I particularly wish to congratulate PAM on its 20th anniversary and the many successes it has achieved as a center of excellence for regional parliamentary diplomacy through all these years. Excellencies, the Security Council Counterterrorism Committee Executive Directorate, or CTED, the organization that I am proud to lead, plays a distinct role within the United Nations in 4 critical areas: monitoring implementation of relevant Security Council resolutions on counterterrorism, identifying and analyzing new and emerging terrorist trends and developments, facilitating delivery of technical assistance, and promoting effective practices, international standards, and policy guidance. CTED's mandate to conduct independent, impartial, and neutral assessments of all 193 United Nations member states is the only tool of its kind. The outcomes of those assessments provide a critical resource to the member states in identifying and addressing gaps in implementation of relevant Council resolutions. Our subsequent facilitation role serves as a reinforcement of and complement to the assessment process, ensuring that capacity building delivery to the member states is tailored to the needs of the countries on the ground. To date, CTED has conducted country assessments of more than 120 member states, including 21 member and associate states of PAM, with most recent visits to Jordan in 2023, Mauritania in 2024, Montenegro in 2024, Malta in 2025, and Italy this year, 2026. In our multifaceted partnership, PAM and CTED have identified trends, strengthened the governance of emerging technologies, and supported parliamentary capacity building. Together, we have addressed key issues such as spyware, the use of information and communication technologies for terrorist purposes, and the malicious use of artificial intelligence. Through these efforts, we have facilitated information sharing and cooperation between the states, contributing to more effective and constructive responses to the complex challenges posed by terrorism. I'm also delighted that PAM's Research Center joined CTED's Global Research Network, which brings together more than 100 leading research institutions from around the globe. Distinguished participants, we meet as the global terrorism landscape continues to evolve in both complexity and consequence. CTED is observing a growing diversity of motivations, with individuals drawing on a range of ideologies and grievances to justify terrorist acts, alongside shorter pathways to radicalization to violence. Decentralized cells and lone actors whose ways to violence resist easy classification and whose plans are harder to predict and disrupt are also a particular concern. At the same time, groups such as Al-Qaeda, Daesh, and their affiliates remain capable and intent on conducting attacks and attracting new members. These dynamics are being further amplified by technology. Terrorist groups are increasingly using digital communications, emerging technologies, and new payment methods to support their operations. We are also seeing the expanded use of unmanned aircraft systems and social media for surveillance, propaganda, and recruitment, facilitating the wider dissemination of terrorist narratives, particularly among youth. And in this context, the targeting and exploitation of children and young people is an especially alarming trend nowadays. Terrorism cannot persist without financing, yet the financing landscape itself is becoming more decentralized, with some financing flows becoming more difficult to trace. And in countering these threats, the collective efforts of the international community are more vital than ever. The United Nations remains uniquely positioned to convene, to coordinate, and to uphold the principles that must guide our response, which must be firmly anchored in prevention and addressing the conditions conducive to terrorism. This requires a whole-of-government and a whole-of-society approach grounded in human rights and with respect for the rule of law. Parliamentarians are central to this effort through sustaining political dialogue, promoting cooperative governance, and restoring trust in multilateral institutions. By strengthening partnerships, drawing on shared knowledge, and promoting lessons learned and good practices, we can successfully advance our common objective, a world free from terrorism. I wish you every success in the deliberations in the days ahead, and allow me to once again warmly congratulate you on your 20th anniversary. I thank you. Important token and symbol of our cooperation, United Nations and the Parliamentary Assembly of the Mediterranean. Thank you.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we have now a special moment in PAM when a country, a national parliament, join our assembly, as we have done in the past, and two countries which are key to our region, requested and PAM unanimously welcome them as observer, and these countries are Armenia and Azerbaijan, as all of you have mentioned before. Now we have a little ceremony to welcome them. It's a symbolic ceremony. We offer them the flag of PAM to welcome them in the PAM family. And for this reason, I would like here to come to the podium Her Excellency, the Speaker of the Milli Majalis of Azerbaijan, Her Excellency Saiba Gafarova, and His Excellency Yakov Arshakian, the Vice President of National Assembly of Armenia, to sit where I am, next to President Mandic. Please, next to the President.
Yes.
Mr. Mandic will be in the middle?
Who?
Mr. Mandic will...
Like this.
Okay.
Seven and number.
Now we take a minute. Because of the bad weather outside, we will have a family photo of the speakers and deputy speakers here on the podium, and I invite Speaker and Deputy Speaker to join us here for the family photo.